A good woman is often mistaken for a weak woman, not because she lacks strength, but because her strength doesn't announce itself. It doesn't shout. It doesn't intimidate. It doesn't beg for validation. It simply exists. In a world that confuses noise with power, silence is underestimated. And no one embodies this misunderstood silence more than a good woman. She wakes up every day carrying responsibilities that never make headlines. She holds families together, builds emotional stability, absorbs pressure, and still finds a way to show kindness. Not because she is fragile, but because she is strong enough to choose grace over chaos. In America, strength is often portrayed as dominance, louder voices, sharper elbows, relentless ambition. But the strongest women rarely fit that image. They are the ones who stay calm while storms rage, the ones who rebuild quietly after being broken, the ones who walk away from disrespect without explaining themselves, the ones who endure, not because they have no choice, but because they understand purpose. A good woman knows when to fight and when to let go. That discernment alone is power. She understands that reacting to everything drains energy, so she protects her peace like a sacred space. She doesn't argue with people committed to misunderstanding her. She doesn't chase approval. She doesn't perform strength, she lives it. Her strength is rooted in self-respect. She may have been raised to be polite, taught to be accommodating, conditioned to put others first. But life teaches her something deeper. Being good does not mean being powerless. Pain sharpens her awareness. Disappointment builds her boundaries. Failure strengthens her patience. She learns that love without self-worth becomes sacrifice, and sacrifice without limits becomes self-destruction. So she evolves. She stops explaining her no. She stops shrinking to make others comfortable. She stops apologizing for her standards, not because she turned cold, but because she turned wise. A good woman can be soft and unbreakable at the same time. She can be nurturing without being naive. She can be kind without being controllable. That balance terrifies weak minds. People test her because they mistake her calm for compliance. They push boundaries because she doesn't raise her voice. They underestimate her because she doesn't brag. But there comes a moment, a quiet moment, when they realize they misjudged her. Because when a good woman decides she's done, she doesn't create drama, she creates distance. And distance from a woman who gave her all is a loss most people don't recover from. She doesn't destroy lives, she removes access. That is power. Her discipline is invisible. Her resilience is internal. Her confidence is not loud and it's settled. She doesn't need to prove her worth, because she has already survived what would have broken others. Her discipline is invisible. Her resilience is internal. Her confidence is not loud, it's settled. She doesn't need to prove her worth, because she has already survived what would have broken others. She has cried in private and shown up anyway. She has been doubted and kept moving. She has been betrayed and refused to become bitter. That is not weakness. That is mastery. A good woman understands something the world learns too late. True power is not domination. It is self-control. And this is only the beginning of her story. From a young age, a good woman is taught lessons that sound harmless but shape her destiny. Be polite. Be patient. Don't talk back. Don't be difficult. Don't be too ambitious. Don't be too emotional. Don't be too confident. And most importantly, be agreeable. Society often rewards women not for strength, but for compliance, for making others comfortable, for minimizing their needs, for carrying emotional weight without complaint. At first, this conditioning looks like kindness, but over time it becomes control. A good woman learns early how to read the room. She senses moods, anticipates conflict, adjusts herself to maintain peace. This emotional intelligence is powerful, but when unprotected, it can be exploited. People lean on her, drain her, expect her to always understand, always forgive, always stay. And for a while she does. Not because she doesn't feel exhaustion, but because she believes endurance is love until life interrupts that belief. Pain becomes her teacher, disappointment becomes her mirror, and betrayal becomes her awakening. She realizes something dangerous. Being good without boundaries invites disrespect, so she begins to question the rules she never agreed to. Why must her kindness be unlimited? Why must her silence be interpreted as consent? Why must her strength be hidden to protect fragile egos? This is where her power begins to form. Not in rebellion, but in awareness. She starts choosing herself without apology. She understands that emotional intelligence does not mean emotional submission, that empathy does not require self-abandonment, that patience does not mean tolerating harm. She learns to say no without anger, to walk away without explanation, to protect her energy without guilt. And this is where the world gets uncomfortable, because a disciplined woman who understands her worth is no longer easy to control. She still listens, but she no longer absorbs chaos. She still cares. But she no longer bleeds for people who refuse to heal themselves. She still loves, but she no longer negotiates her dignity. This evolution is quiet. There are no announcements, no dramatic speeches, just changed behavior. She stops over-explaining, stops chasing closure, stops proving loyalty to people who question her value. Her boundaries confuse those who benefited from her lack of them. They call her distant, cold, selfish, different. They mistake growth for arrogance. But the truth is, she has simply outgrown the version of herself that accepted less. A good woman does not lose her softness when she becomes powerful. She sharpens it with wisdom. She understands that real strength is not reaction. It is regulation, the ability to stay grounded when provoked, the courage to leave when disrespected, the discipline to build a life that aligns with her values. She is no longer controlled by guilt, nor driven by validation. Her power is internal now, unshakable, unborrowed, unapologetic. And once a woman reaches this level of self-mastery, there is no returning to who she used to be. Because awareness, once awakened, cannot be put back to sleep. The world fears emotionally disciplined women more than angry ones. Anger is predictable. Reactions are controllable. Chaos is easy to manipulate. But emotional discipline? That is dangerous. A good woman becomes powerful the moment she learns to regulate her emotions instead of suppressing them. She feels deeply, but she chooses carefully what deserves her response. This is not emotional coldness. This is emotional mastery. She understands that not every trigger deserves attention. Not every insult deserves explanation. Not every loss deserves regret. In a society addicted to reaction, her calm feels threatening. People test her limits because they want a reaction. They provoke her silence because they don't understand it. They mistake her restraint for fear, but restraint is not fear. It is control. She has learned that reacting gives power away, that explaining herself to people committed to misunderstanding her is a waste of energy. That piece is more valuable than proving a point, so she becomes selective. She observes before she responds. She listens before she commits. She pauses before she reacts. This pause changes everything. Because in that space between stimulus and response, she chooses herself. She stops participating in emotional chaos, stops chasing closure from people who thrive on confusion, stops negotiating with disrespect. And this is when solitude enters her life. Not loneliness, but chosen solitude. She would rather be alone than misaligned, rather be quiet than emotionally drained, rather walk alone than walk with people who diminish her. This choice shocks the world, because society teaches women to fear being alone, to tolerate dysfunction rather than face solitude, to cling to familiarity even when it costs self-respect. But a powerful woman understands something different. Solitude is not emptiness, it is clarity. In solitude, she hears her own voice again. She reconnects with her values. She rebuilds without interference. She no longer seeks constant validation. She no longer explains her growth. She no longer needs permission to evolve. Her presence becomes intentional. Her absence becomes meaningful. People notice when she leaves, because when she was present, she gave fully. And when she withdraws, she takes nothing but her peace. This is why emotionally disciplined women unsettle insecure systems. They cannot be rushed. They cannot be guilted. They cannot be controlled through chaos. They respond with silence instead of arguments, distance instead of drama, consistency instead of promises. And consistency is the loudest proof of strength. A good woman who masters her emotions no longer needs to prove she is powerful. Her life reflects it. Her boundaries speak. Her calm intimidates. Her absence educates. She understands that power is not loud. It is steady. And once she reaches this level, the world can never manipulate her the same way again. Because the woman who controls her emotions controls her destiny. A good woman loves deeply, but she does not lose herself in the process. This is where many misunderstand her. They assume love requires sacrifice without limits, that loyalty means endurance at any cost, that commitment demands silence in the face of disrespect. But a powerful woman knows better. She understands that love without self-respect becomes self-erasure. That loyalty without boundaries becomes emotional imprisonment. That attachment without dignity turns into dependence. So she chooses differently. She loves with intention, not desperation. She commits with clarity, not fear. She gives from fullness, not emptiness. This is why she does not beg. Begging places value in someone else's hands. Begging turns affection into currency. Begging makes love conditional, and she refuses to bargain with her worth. She also does not chase. Chasing implies imbalance. It suggests one person runs while the other decides. It creates power struggles disguised as romance. A good woman understands that mutual interest never requires pursuit. If she has to convince someone to choose her, the answer was already no. So she stops running, and she stops waiting. She stands still in her self-respect. She also does not compete, not with other women, not for attention, not for validation. Competition thrives on insecurity. Comparison drains identity, and she has done the work to know who she is. She understands that what is meant for her will recognize her without rivalry. This confidence unsettles people, because the world is used to women. Overgiving to be chosen, overperforming to be loved, overcompromising to be kept, but a powerful woman does not audition for her place in anyone's life. She sets standards. She observes behavior. She responds to consistency, not words. And when she senses misalignment, she doesn't threaten. She doesn't manipulate. She doesn't dramatize. She detaches not out of bitterness, but out of self-respect. This is the moment she becomes untouchable. Because once a woman no longer needs external validation, she cannot be controlled through affection. Once she no longer fears abandonment, she cannot be manipulated through distance. Once she no longer confuses attention with love, she cannot be distracted from her values. Her love is still warm, still generous, still real, but it is no longer unconditional to those who dishonor it. She understands that love should expand her life, not shrink it, strengthen her peace, not destabilize it, support her growth, not slow it down. And if it doesn't, she walks away without hatred. That quiet departure is not weakness. It is strength refined. Because a woman who can love deeply and still choose herself is a woman who cannot be broken. She has learned the ultimate truth. Love is powerful, but self-respect is unstoppable. A good woman eventually reaches a level where external permission no longer matters. She stops asking, stops waiting, stops hoping someone else will validate what she already knows. This is inner authority. It is not arrogance. It is alignment. She trusts her judgment because life has tested it. She listens to her intuition because it has warned her before. She honors her instincts because ignoring them once cost her peace. Independence did not make her distant. Experience did. She has learned that relying on unstable systems creates instability within, that depending on inconsistent people leads to emotional whiplash, that surrendering authority over her life invites disappointment. So she takes her power back. She becomes the decision-maker of her own life, the protector of her energy, the architect of her future. This independence unsettles people because a woman who does not need approval cannot be pressured by opinion. A woman who does not need rescue cannot be controlled by fear. A woman who does not need permission cannot be delayed. People often misinterpret her independence as coldness, her solitude as sadness, her boundaries as walls, but they are wrong. She is not isolated. She is intentional. She chooses quality over quantity, depth over noise, truth over familiarity. And yes, elevation brings loneliness, not because she is unlovable, but because she no longer belongs in spaces that thrive on chaos, excuses, or emotional immaturity. She outgrows conversations centered on drama. She distances herself from cycles that lead nowhere. She disengages from environments that require self-betrayal. This separation is painful at times. Growth always is, but she understands something crucial. Loneliness with self-respect is safer than company that costs self-worth. In solitude, she sharpens her vision. She strengthens her discipline. She builds a life that reflects her values. She no longer fears being misunderstood, because the woman who knows who she is does not need to be explained. Her independence is not rebellion. It is responsibility. She takes ownership of her healing, her success, her peace, and in doing so, she becomes unshakable. A good woman with inner authority does not demand power. She embodies it. She may walk alone, but she walks free. And freedom is the highest form of strength. Good woman does not need a podium to lead. She does not announce her victories. She does not demand attention. She does not force respect. Her leadership is subtle. Her influence is quiet. Her dominance is natural. People notice because results speak louder than words. She leads by example, by discipline, by consistency. She shows up even when unseen. She works even when unrecognized. She holds standards even when challenged. This quiet power is intimidating to those accustomed to noise, because in a world where influence is measured by volume, her stillness becomes a statement. She does not need to dominate conversations. She does not need to overpower opinions. She simply embodies principles, so strongly that they cannot be ignored. Her decisions reflect clarity, not ego. Her actions reflect integrity, not image. Her presence reflects authority, not arrogance. This is leadership without drama. It is the kind that transforms environments. Offices, homes, communities, friendships. People follow her naturally, not out of fear, but out of respect. Her influence is not forced. It is magnetic. Her impact is not temporary. It is lasting. She cultivates trust by being reliable. She cultivates respect by being consistent. She cultivates admiration by living with integrity. And because she does not seek approval, she does not compromise values for popularity. The environment around her shifts quietly. Chaos is replaced by order. Mediocrity is replaced by excellence. Negativity is replaced by accountability. This is why powerful women often change everything, without speaking loudly. They embody the truth that leadership is not about being seen. Influence is not about being loud. Dominance is not about intimidation. It is about presence, purpose, power rooted in integrity. A good woman leading quietly is unstoppable, because her strength is invisible until it cannot be ignored. And once her influence takes hold, it changes the lives of everyone around her. Good woman's power is often invisible because it is forged in private battles. Her life is a series of tests no one applauds, silent struggles, emotional storms, decisions that cost sleep, comfort, and certainty. She has faced betrayal from those she trusted, disappointment from those she believed in, and loss that reshaped her world. Yet she survived, not because life spared her, but because she refused to be broken. Every challenge she faced became a teacher. Pain taught her boundaries. Failure taught her resilience. Disrespect taught her self-respect. Loneliness taught her independence. She learned to fight without fighting, to stand without threatening, to win without proving her. Triumphs are quiet because she does not seek validation. Her victories are deep because they are personal. Her strength is powerful because it is hard-earned. This is why she often surprises the world. People underestimate her, thinking a good woman is weak. They cannot see the storms she has weathered. They cannot imagine the sacrifices she has endured. They fail to recognize that every setback polished her armor. And when she finally stands fully realized, the impact is undeniable. Her calm becomes confidence. Her silence becomes authority. Her patience becomes strategy. Adversity did not just challenge her, it created her. She is stronger because she cried, wiser because she was hurt, braver because she feared. The world measures success by trophies, titles, and attention. But a good woman measures it differently. By how many times she stood after falling, by how deeply she loved despite pain, by how much she grew while surviving chaos. This is invisible power, unseen by many, underestimated by most, felt by everyone she touches. And the truth is, no one can diminish the strength forged in adversity. A good woman knows this. She has been tested. She has survived, and she will continue to rise. Her life becomes proof that power does not always announce itself. Sometimes it is forged in silence, tempered by struggle, and displayed through unshakable presence. She is living evidence that a good woman is not weak. She is powerful. A good woman knows that true power is not measured by what she takes, but by what she leaves behind. Her influence extends beyond herself, touching lives, shaping environments, and inspiring others to rise. She understands that her actions speak louder than words. Her discipline becomes a model. Her resilience becomes a lesson. Her integrity becomes a standard. People notice, often without realizing why. Young women see her and learn strength without arrogance. Friends witness her calm and understand patience. Colleagues experience her consistency and embrace excellence. She does not preach. She does not demand recognition. She simply lives as proof that values, when embodied, create change. Her legacy is built quietly, brick by brick. through decisions made with courage, through boundaries maintained with grace, through love given without losing herself. She becomes a force of transformation simply by existing in alignment with her principles. The world may not celebrate every sacrifice, every choice, every moment she resisted compromise. But impact is not always immediate. It is cumulative, subtle, lasting. A powerful woman inspires without trying. She educates without lecturing. She motivates without competition. Her influence creates ripples that touch people she will never meet. Her strength sets standards that others unconsciously follow. Her example teaches lessons that no advice could convey. And in this, she becomes unstoppable. Because a good woman's power is not contained by titles, roles, or spaces. It transcends circumstances. It influences culture. It redefines expectations. She understands something profound. The greatest legacy is not wealth, not fame, not accolades. It is the embodiment of values that elevate others.